Excellencies, distinguished guests, students, faculty and staff of the Lee Kuan Yew School, ladies and gentlemen. It is truly a great honor for us to welcome His Excellency, the General Secretary, Mr. Nguyen Phu Trong, to the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy. As many of you may know, I have a habit of making 3 points when I speak in the school. In the first, I will discuss the strong and deep relationship between Vietnam and our school. In the second, I will briefly touch on the General Secretary's lecture topic on Southeast Asia. The topic is for a Southeast Asia of peace, stability, cooperation and development. And in the third, I will introduce our esteemed speaker. Firstly, the Lee Kuan Yew School has enjoyed a very productive relationship with Vietnam since the school was established 8 years ago. We currently have 6 students studying in our school, but we have almost 100 alumni from Vietnam who have graduated from our school. These include men and women from such diverse backgrounds as the civil service, international organizations, business, academia, and non-profit organizations. Since 2005, our school has also trained almost 1,500 Vietnamese participants in our executive education programs. The Asian Development Bank Public Policy Training Program alone had 1,142 Vietnamese participants over 3 years. Other programs have included ADB Mekong Leaders Program, capacity development in monetary and financial policy in partnership with the Temasek Foundation and the State Bank of Vietnam. And we've also done a program with the Vietnamese Ministry of Foreign Affairs in developing effective anti-corruption strategies. Last year, we hosted a conference on challenges facing Vietnam and Asia, attended by 100 Vietnamese delegates and hosted by our own Professor Vu Minh Kheng. In 2009, Deputy Prime Minister Huang, and I'm glad he's here, commissioned the Vietnam Competitiveness Report 2009-2010 from the Lee Kuan Yew School's Asia Competitiveness Institute, and it was launched in 2010 by Prime Minister Nguyen Phu Trong and Professor Michael Porter. This is the report in Hanoi. So we're very glad to show it to you as an example of our cooperation with Vietnam. And indeed, I was personally there for the launch. Secondly, on Southeast Asia, I think many of you know that I've long said that the 21st century will be the Asian century. And in this Asian century, ASEAN will play a very important role. Firstly, it is already a model for peace and prosperity, bringing stability to a region which was once called the Balkans of Asia. Secondly, ASEAN also provides a platform for all the great powers, new powers, emerging powers, to come together and discuss cooperation. No other regional organization can substitute the work done by ASEAN. Thirdly, as we move into a multi-civilizational world with many successful civilizations, ASEAN as the most diverse regional organization in the world provides a model, a microcosm of what a multi-civilizational world will look like. Now, it gives me great pleasure for my third point to introduce our honorable guest, the General Secretary. As you know, he is the most senior person in the Vietnam leadership. Indeed, his visit to Singapore is the first ever visit by the Communist Party of Vietnam General Secretary in 19 years. He has held a range of important positions within the party, National Assembly, and Government of Vietnam. He has worked for the Communist Review, a leading theoretical and political organ of the Communist Party of Vietnam. And I pointed out to his General Secretary, I also studied Marxism for my master's program. He was elected to the party's Central Committee in 1989, the Politburo in 1997, and appointed a standing member of the Politburo in 1999. He was also the party secretary of Hanoi, Speaker of the 11th and 12th legislatures of the National Assembly, and chairman of the party's Theoretical Council, where he was responsible for the party's theoretical work. He was elected General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam at the 11th National Party Congress in 2011. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it now gives me great pleasure to call on the General Secretary to deliver his remarks. Please.
Dean of the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, ladies and gentlemen, on the occasion of my official visit to Singapore, it is my great pleasure to visit and meet with distinguished delegates, professors, scholars, lecturers and students of the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, one of the reputable institutes of Singapore and the Southeast Asian region. I would like to express my sincerest thanks to Dean and Professor Kishore Mahbubani and friends for your cordial and warm hospitality. I extend my warmest greetings to everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, we highly appreciate the formation and development of the school. Within a short period of time offering public policy programs, the school has now become one of the world's leading institutes in the public policy research and training. It can't be denied that the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy is the product of Singapore's journey, which at the same time has a close association with the impressive development of the country. One of the pioneers in the development of an intellectual economy, the vigorous promotion of human capital on the basic principle of treasuring talents. With a team of best-in-class professors and lecturers, along with almost 400 students from 50 countries in the world, your school represents a vivid manifestation of the interchange and interconnection among countries in the age of globalization. This is an effective model of the spirit of cooperation and contribution. We heartily congratulate Singapore on your outstanding achievements. We wish Singapore all the best in your endeavor to greater prosperity and higher credibility in the region and the world. We wish the school greater success in grooming talents for Singapore and other countries in the region. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been witnessing considerable changes brought about by the scientific and technological revolution, along with the process of the globalization and international integration. Among the significant trends of the era include peace, national independence, democracy, cooperation and development. However, civil war, armed conflict, racial and religious conflict, domestic intervention and subversion, terrorism, dispute over territories and resources, and other non-traditional security issues are getting more and more complicated. Singapore and Vietnam have a privilege to be located in the Asia-Pacific and Southeast Asian area, a region globally recognized as the most dynamic and potential drive of the global economic growth, attracting attention from big powers and major economic political centers of the world. Yet, there are still implicit factors threatening the common peace, security, and development. This creates opportunities for development and at the same time poses critical challenges for all the countries. Therefore, it requires each and every country in the region to heighten their sense of responsibility, reinforce intra-regional union, and enhance extra-regional cooperation with states and organizations in an effort to foster peace and prosperity. We should strive together to turn Southeast Asia into an attractive destination for external investors, trade partners, and tourists from all over the world. From the history of Vietnam's past struggle for national freedom, independence, and reunification, as well as the current endeavor in national construction and defense, we have been greatly aware of the important combination between the national strength and the strength of the times, between domestic strength and international strength. Deeply influenced by this lesson, we have always been consistent in our foreign affairs of independence and autonomy, peace, cooperation and development, multilateralization and diversification of relations, proactive and active international integration, preparedness to be a reliable friend and partner, and a responsible member of the international community. With this policy, we have gained extremely significant achievements, raising our international status and growing our international relations. Vietnam has so far established diplomatic relations with over 180 countries, including strategic partnership with many countries such as China, Russia, the United Kingdom, Germany, Japan, India, Korea, Spain, etc. The Communist Party of Vietnam has relations with 206 political parties in 114 countries in the world. Vietnam has established economic and trade relations with over 230 countries and territories, investment relations with almost 100 countries and territories. We are a member of more than 70 international and regional organizations. The renewal and open door process has resulted in great achievements of historical significance, fundamentally changing the face of our country. Nevertheless, we are still facing numerous challenges and imminent weaknesses of the economy, clearly revealed under the impact of the recent global financial, monetary crisis and economic downturn. In such situations, we choose to continue the comprehensive reinforcement of the renewal process to step-by-step improve the economy and move toward rapid and sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, my official visit to Singapore this time takes place when we celebrated the recent ASEAN's 45th anniversary. We are striving together to build a united and strong ASEAN community with the central role to ensure regional peace, security, cooperation and development. Looking back at the paths that the association has gone through over the last 45 years and toward the journey ahead, we see both advantages and challenges. This requires ASEAN member states to take common action with mutual trust, solidarity and cooperation, following the principles in the Charter of ASEAN, to uphold ASEAN's centrality in the regional structures and proactivism in reinforcing the environment of peace, stability and cooperation in the region. As an open region, ASEAN needs to continue expanding its mutually beneficial cooperation with other countries and partners, without opposing any country or alliance. With its centrality, ASEAN needs to impulse the measures to ensure the common regional peace, stability and security. In today's international context, building a united and strong ASEAN community is more important than ever. Our shared objective is to move toward a region of peace, stability, cooperation and prosperous development. Recently, there has been rising tension due to the complicated situation in the South China Sea, which is a strategically and economically important location to the region and the world. This is an apprehensive reality. As a direct related party, Vietnam is committed to the serious implementation of the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea, DOC. and the guidelines for the implementation of DOC signed between ASEAN and China, the Agreement on Basic Principles for the Settlement of Maritime Issues between Vietnam and China. We are committed to work actively with ASEAN countries to fortify the negotiation to early sign with China the Code of Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea, COC, following the 6-point principles on the South China Sea covered by the statement of ASEAN Foreign Affairs Ministers. At the same time, Vietnam urges other countries to respect its legitimate interests as a coastal nation, including sovereignty, jurisdiction over its continental shelf, and the exclusive economic zones as stipulated in the international law, especially the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea dated 1982. We believe that the shared desire, benefit and responsibility of all ASEAN member states is to maintain an environment of peace and stability in the region. As a member of ASEAN, Vietnam strictly complies with the principles stipulated in the Charter of ASEAN. We says abstention from participation in any policy or activity, including the use of its territory, pursued by ASEAN member state or non-ASEAN state, or any non-state actor which threatens the sovereignty, territorial integrity, or political and economic stability of ASEAN member states. At the same time, we are committed to reinforce this principle in the relations with all the non-ASEAN states by not inducing or joining the alliance with one state to oppose another. We leave no stone unturned in our effort to expand our cooperation as well as ASEAN's cooperation with non-ASEAN states, especially to dialogue countries and big powers such as China, Russia, the US, Japan, India, etc. In that spirit, Vietnam has so far participated in all existing mechanisms of cooperation among ASEAN members and between ASEAN's external partners. We consider ASEAN a truly large and dear family. We consider partner states as indispensable companions along our journey of development. Ladies and gentlemen, upon my first time to Singapore, a beautiful and hospitable island nation which is quite close to Vietnam, witnessing with my own eyes your country's development, I am profoundly impressed by the dynamism and prosperity of Singapore, by the harmony between the people and the nature, as well as your unity and diversity. Singapore's development is the precious experience for Vietnam, as we are in the midst of the renewal process, the national industrialization and modernization. Human beings are entering the age of intellectual economy. This is a qualitative development of the human society. To avoid lagging behind, all countries need to pay attention to investments in human capital. Vietnam is no exception. We have defined human capital development as one of the breakthrough, the motivation, and the strategy for socio-economical development. We highly appreciate and are interested to learn from Singapore's success in its policy prioritizing investments on education and training, considering human capital as the decisive resources for national development. From the bottom of our heart, we are grateful to your government and the people of Singapore for sharing your experience and extending your practical and effective assistance to Vietnam. Ladies and gentlemen, in an insightful, comprehensive and efficient discussion on the 12th of September, His Excellency Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong and I were delighted to see the good improvement in the Vietnam-Singapore relationship, opening great opportunities for the better cooperation between the two countries, as well as intra-ASEAN cooperation. Almost 10 years ago, the two countries signed the joint statement on the Comprehensive Collaboration Framework in the 21st Century and the Connectivity Framework Agreement, creating a legal framework and favorable condition to foster friendship and multi-sided cooperation between the two countries. It is not by chance that Singapore is one of our leading investment and trade partners, with two-way trade of almost $9 billion US. There is significant growth in the cooperation in other fields. there has been a dramatic increase in the number of Vietnamese coming to Singapore and the number of Singaporeans coming to Vietnam. That is the consequence of mutual trust and in-depth cooperation between the two countries. We treasure our relations with Singapore and will work hard to promote that relationship. We believe that such intensive, sincere and trusted cooperation between Vietnam and Singapore is an important factor in the development of each country, which, at the same time, significantly contributes to the peace, stability, cooperation, and development in Southeast Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, the year 2013 will be an important milestone in the friendly and cooperative relations between Vietnam and Singapore, when we together celebrate our 40th anniversary of diplomatic relations. To build our solid and in-depth cooperation of the last 40 years, and to unleash hidden cooperation potentials, His Excellency Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong and I, along with other leaders of Singapore, agreed to do our utmost to better develop the Vietnam-Singapore relationship, bringing it into strategic partnership. This is the shared determination and the key result of the high-level Vietnam-Singapore discussion this time. Once again, thank you for your time today. We do have great expectations for the future development of the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy. We look forward to your continued support in training high-quality human resources for Vietnam, as you have been doing. Professor Kishore Mahbubani, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you good health, happiness and success in all you do. Thank you very much.
Mr. General Secretary, thank you for that speech.
Thưa Tổng Bí thư, rất cảm ơn Tổng Bí thư về bài phát biểu vừa rồi.
We have learned a lot from you.
Chúng tôi đã học được rất nhiều điều.
And we also thank you for agreeing to answer some questions.
Và cũng xin cảm ơn Tổng Bí thư đã đồng ý trả lời một số câu hỏi.
So with your permission, I'll ask you the first question.
Và bây giờ thì xin Tổng Bí thư cho phép chúng tôi hỏi câu hỏi đầu tiên.
Yeah. As you said in your speech, we live in a challenging world.
Như Ngài đã nói, chúng ta đang sống trong một thế giới đầy thách thức.
Every country faces challenges.
Và nước nào cũng phải đối mặt với thách thức cả.
What do you see as the three biggest challenges Vietnam faces now?
Vậy Ngài có thể cho biết 3 thách thức lớn nhất Việt Nam gặp phải là gì?
Việt Nam chúng tôi thì bên cạnh những cái thuận lợi rất là cơ bản, đó là cái nền chính trị ổn định, xã hội ổn định. Chúng tôi có truyền thống phát triển rất lâu, nhân dân giàu lòng yêu nước, khối đoàn kết dân tộc rất tốt và hiện nay đang mở mang quan hệ với các nước như tôi vừa báo cáo, với các nước trong khu vực và trên thế giới. Tuy nhiên, trên con đường khó khăn, chúng tôi cũng gặp rất nhiều thách thức khó khăn. Có thể kể ra nhiều, nhưng mà có mấy cái khó khăn thách thức lớn. Đó là chúng tôi phải giải quyết một cái mâu thuẫn giữa yêu cầu muốn phát triển rất nhanh, bền vững với cơ sở hạ tầng còn đang yếu kém. Nguồn vốn của chúng tôi còn đang có hạn. Nguồn nhân lực cũng còn đang chưa được nhiều, nhất là nguồn lực chất lượng cao, và kinh nghiệm lãnh đạo quản lý cũng còn ít, không được như Singapore. Đấy là mâu thuẫn rất là lớn.
So, in order to develop fast and sustainably, but conditions are not allowing us to do so. Another challenge is that we come from an economy which was poor and backward, and we have experienced more than 30 years of war, leaving very, very heavy consequences. So, you know, through those wars, Vietnam now, after those wars with Vietnam, we have more than 1.5 million martyrs, more than 800,000 wounded soldiers, and about 5 1,000 Vietnam hero mothers. By hero mothers, we mean those mothers who have 1 to 11 sons or fathers or husbands in the family sacrificed for the national liberation. And at the same time, we have to solve a huge work of giving entitlement policies to meritorious services, given the backward and the limited level of development of our economy. With our policy, therefore our policy is economic growth to go together with social policy, particularly giving priority to poverty reduction, taking care of people who are disadvantaged in the society, people poor in the society, who are poor and in disadvantaged positions in the society. Another point is that, as I said, the human resources, as I said, though we have tried to work very hard in our educational system, we have 22 million people going to school, and we have a high number of professors and doctors, but in comparison with Singapore, we are still low behind. Yesterday, we visited the high-tech park and the ADB of Singapore. I recognize that you have chosen a breakthrough in developing high-quality human resources in order to meet with the requirements of the knowledge-based economy, and this constitutes a challenge that we are facing. In terms of infrastructure, business people and friends here know that roads, infrastructure, physical infrastructures, etc. in Vietnam are still low in development. We are limited in our management experiences. We have opened our country in a short time, and many things that we have to learn from Singapore friends, and therefore it is our earnest wish to look forward to Singapore for assistance and help. This morning during my breakfast, I worked with the Singaporean business people. I asked them to ask us to develop our trade and economic development, developing our tourism, etc. But now, as I'm here at the Lee Kuan Yew School, I wish you to continue to help us in training our human resources.
Thank you.
Xin cảm ơn ngài.
We'll be very happy to work
Chúng tôi
with you
sẽ
with the
rất
training
vui
of human
được làm việc với ngài để đào tạo nguồn nhân
Xin
lực.
cảm ơn Tổng Bí thư. Chúng tôi rất sẵn lòng giúp đỡ và hợp tác với Việt Nam để giúp đào tạo nguồn nhân lực.
As a scholar over here, Muni, please, can you identify yourself to the General Secretary?
Xin tự giới thiệu.
Please identify yourself and then, go ahead.
From School of Institute of South Asian Studies. Thank you very much for a very focused and enlightening address. China has equated its claims in South China Sea with its core interests, which means equal to what they say about their claims in Taiwan and of course their interest in Tibet.
Thưa Tổng Bí thư, tôi đến từ Viện Nghiên cứu Đông Nam Á. Xin rất là cảm ơn bà Tổng Bí thư về bài phát biểu rất là đầy đủ và rất là nhiều thông tin. Thì câu hỏi của tôi là thế này, tức là Trung Quốc đã xác định Biển Đông là lợi ích cốt lõi, tức là tương đương với Tây Tạng.
And China has said that it will not hesitate to use force if need be.
Và Trung Quốc cũng nói rằng là nếu cần thì sẽ sử dụng vũ lực.
In protecting those interests. In that view, what are the options of other ASEAN countries, particularly Vietnam?
Khi cần thì sẽ sử dụng vũ lực để bảo vệ những lợi ích này. Vậy thì sự lựa chọn của các nước ASEAN và đặc biệt là của Việt Nam là gì?
You can see he has asked a very difficult question.
Câu hỏi khó quá. Thưa quý vị,
Ladies and gentlemen, it's true that recently China has declared that China has a core interest in the South China Sea. And many countries in the region have also declared their sovereignty over the China Sea. And Vietnam is also having our jurisdiction and our sovereign rights there as stipulated by the international, by the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. And between Vietnam and China, you may know that we are two neighboring countries close to each other, next to each other, and China is a major, a giant, a big country, and Vietnam is a small country, and we have cohabitated for for thousands of years. already.
Trong cái thời đại bây giờ,
And in this time,
hai nước chúng tôi
in this age,
luôn
our
luôn
two
khẳng định
countries have always
là cùng đi theo
confirmed
con đường xã hội
that
chủ
we
nghĩa
are following the
do
path
Đảng
of
Cộng sản lãnh
socialism
đạo,
under the
cùng
leadership
theo
of the
chủ
Communist
nghĩa Mác
Party,
mà như
and we are
ngài
following Marxism
viện trưởng
as
có nghiên cứu.
the Dean has researched, studied on.
Không chỉ là
Not
quan hệ
only
hàng xóm láng giềng,
we're having
chúng tôi
a
luôn
relationship of
luôn nói với
neighborhood,
nhau, gọi là đồng chí,
neighborliness, we
là
are also comrades and
nhân dân
brothers.
qua lại thăm viếng
People are
nhau.
visiting each other,
Và chính
exchanging
là
with
Việt
each
Nam
other.
cũng chỉ
And
ơn
it's
Trung Quốc rất
Vietnam,
nhiều.
we are grateful to China quite greatly.
Trước khi mà chúng tôi có thành lập đảng,
Before we
thì đến
establish
chúng
our
tôi
party,
đã từng
our
hoạt động ở
leader,
Quảng
party
Trung
leader,
Nhiều
Nguyen
nhà
Phu
lãnh đạo
then
của
Ho
Việt
Chi
Nam
Minh
tiền bối
operate
trước
in
đây
China, and
là
many
nghiên cứu ở
previous
Trung Quốc.
leaders of Vietnam operated in China, having very close relationship with China, and China assisted us a lot in our anti-French and anti-American wars of aggression, and we have never been grateful. We have never been not as grateful to China, apart from the neighborhood that we are having and socialist construction, as I said. Recently, concerning the South China Sea, it's not only related to Vietnam and China relationship, but many countries having their interest in the South China Sea. You may know it, including the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, Indonesia, and Vietnam included. So it's not only an issue between Vietnam and China, but when China declares that it's a core interest, it's China's business. We have our own sovereignty, sovereign rights and jurisdiction as stipulated by the international law. And in history and in reality, it is our own declaration on those rights. And we talk to China. Each will declare their its own sovereignty, but this is a long-term issue requiring for long-term solution. This is not only the South China Sea, but also East China Sea, Japan, Russia, the Philippines, China, Malaysia, China, etc. But it's our policy, as mentioned in my remarks. It is consistent policy. That is, consistent policy is all conflicts, disputes in the South China Sea should be solved by peaceful means of negotiation on the basis of international law, including a very important basis, that is the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea of 1982 and the DOC between ASEAN sides with China. And China has mentioned this repeatedly. And COC, we are moving to signing between ASEAN and China. It has been started, and we are working actively on that. And apart from that, we have joint principles. Last year in October, when I visited China, both sides have presented its own viewpoints and stance, and we came up with an agreement on 6 points on the solution of issues on the South China Sea between Vietnam and China, and it was publicly known to the world between Vietnam and China. Certainly. Every now and then there may be one issue or another. This is unavoidable situation between the two families, two households living next to each other. There may be times of dissatisfaction, dishappy between the two, even between the between the husband and wife. There are problems. That is natural. So anyway, we have to solve things smoothly and peacefully for the sake of the interest between the two countries, the region and the world. It is our consistent policy, and we look forward to ASEAN understanding and sharing with us and acting together with us.
Thank you very much. The gentleman in blue, please. Yes.
Hi, my name is Chun Kiat. I'm from a Japanese newspaper, Asahi Shimbun.
Vâng, tôi từ phóng viên báo của Nhật Bản.
Hi, so I have two small questions also on island dispute. The first is on the South China Sea. Just want to ask you about how do you view China's claim on the island? Because on one hand, China always say that they will work with ASEAN for peaceful resolution.
I think he's already answered the question. I think on South China Sea, can you translate that?
Câu hỏi vừa rồi là về Biển Đông, về tuyên bố của Trung Quốc, thì chủ tọa có nói rằng là câu hỏi này đã trả lời rồi.
Okay, let me go to the second part. Is how do you view the current situation between China and Japan in the Senkaku Island because of Japan's purchase. They will purchase the Senkaku Island, but China is sending the ships there. So how do you view it?
Vậy thì tôi xin chuyển sang câu hỏi thứ hai, tức là ngài đánh giá thế nào về tranh chấp giữa Trung Quốc và Nhật Bản xung quanh đảo Điếu Ngư, tại vì bây giờ cũng đang có căng thẳng, Trung Quốc cũng đang gửi tàu đến.
Another difficult question.
Một câu hỏi khác cũng cực kỳ khó.
Đây là quan hệ giữa Nhật Bản với
This
Trung
is
Quốc.
an issue of relations between Japan and China. Perhaps you ask these two countries rather than me. Because nobody understands better than the insiders. I can say something, but it's arbitrary. It may be heard to one side or the other.
Our student in the back, one of our students is going to ask a question. Please go ahead.
Xin mời.
Hello, I'm a researcher at the Asian Trends Monitoring Project here at the school. My name is Johannes Loh.
Tôi từ trường về theo dõi các xu hướng của Đông Nam Á, ở châu Á, nghiên cứu.
And I would like to ask a question about how Vietnam and Southeast Asia and ASEAN in cooperation can deal with the problem of rapid urbanization and the challenges for providing services to the urban poor that come along with it. So what is Vietnam's strategy, and maybe what can regional cooperation contribute to dealing with more and more rural-urban migration and the stress on infrastructure and the services that it provides?
Tôi xin hỏi câu hỏi rằng là Việt Nam cũng như là các nước Đông Nam Á và ASEAN thì có chiến lược như thế nào để đối mặt với tình trạng đô thị hóa đang diễn ra hết sức là nhanh chóng, làm thế nào để giải quyết vấn đề cung cấp dịch vụ cho những người nghèo ở thành thị, rồi chiến lược của Việt Nam là gì và hợp tác khu vực như thế nào để giúp giải quyết vấn đề là những người di cư đổ mạnh vào các thành phố lớn.
Chúng tôi thì các bạn biết
In our country, as you know, we've been doing the process of industrialization, modernization. Vietnam previously, nearly 90% were in the agricultural sector, and we had a very a low starting point, and now therefore we have to industrialize and modernize. And it's our goal to become a strategy, a socio-economic development strategy by 2020, with the goal of by 2020 will become fundamentally an industrialized country towards modernity, including urbanization component. And this is a law of certainty for a country coming forward with the strange population, many people moving to industry and services, and certainly you have we face the problem, as you said, and we are now under pressure. The population, particularly from rural areas, moving to the urban areas in large number, and this is a natural natural law, but it creates a continuation. The housing, roads, research, education center, hospital, etc. All the infrastructures in urban centers are not developed at least correspondingly, and therefore we have to limit, in a sense, the number of people moving from rural areas to urban areas. But this is a difficult thing to do, so we have to allow respecting the location and areas of residence by the population. So in reality, the rural population pouring in urban areas in big number. In Hanoi's capital city alone, in 1945, when we succeeded in our August revolution, we had only 250,000 people. About 10 years ago, when I was the secretary of the party committee in Hanoi, there was only 2.5 million people in Hanoi. Now, at this time, the population in Hanoi is now 6.5 million, apart from, off and on residents. This is a huge issue that we have to solve in terms of land, housing, electricity, power supply, schooling, and hospital, etc. Singapore has a very good experience in this. Indonesia, for example, have also paid good attention to this issue, including environment, building houses for low-income people. I also look forward to learning from experiences in Singapore. And this morning, when I met with the business area, they mentioned the housing projects for different group of people, including low-income families.
Thank you very much. With apologies to all of you, I'm afraid that the General Secretary has a busy program in Singapore, and I'm afraid we have to conclude the discussion now.
Rất là xin lỗi các vị, xin cảm ơn Tổng Bí thư. Tôi phải xin lỗi là bởi vì Tổng Bí thư có chương trình rất là dày đặc ở Singapore và bây giờ Tổng Bí thư sẽ phải rời hội trường.
I'm sure you all agree that we have learned a lot from the General Secretary.
Và tôi cho rằng chúng ta đều nhất trí là chúng ta đã học được rất nhiều điều từ bài phát biểu và từ phần trao đổi với Tổng Bí thư.
He has given us insight into Vietnam's thinking.
Và ông đã cho chúng ta biết những chi tiết rất là sâu sắc trong tư tưởng của Việt Nam.
And we hope his visit will lead to greater cooperation between Vietnam and our school.
Và hy vọng là chuyến thăm của Tổng Bí thư sẽ giúp cho quá trình hợp tác giữa Việt Nam và trường của chúng tôi mạnh mẽ hơn.
As a small token of appreciation, I will give him a book on our school.
Và để ghi nhớ chuyến đi này thì tôi xin được tặng Tổng Bí thư cuốn sách về trường của chúng tôi.
It was just launched last week.
Và cuốn sách này vừa mới phát hành tuần trước.
And the rest of you can buy copies.
Thế còn các bạn thì mua.
Okay, thank you.
Một lần nữa tôi xin cảm ơn ngài hiệu trưởng và các quý vị các bạn. Tiếc là thời gian hôm nay ngắn quá, đã có được nghe nhiều ý kiến các bạn thì chúng tôi sẽ học tập được nhiều hơn. Một cái trường danh tiếng như thế này, nhiều học giả, nhiều nhà khoa học, nhiều giáo sư, nhiều giảng viên. Đây là một trung tâm trí tuệ mà chúng tôi muốn học các bạn rất nhiều, nhưng tiếc là thời gian nó ít quá.
Once again, thank you very much. It's a pity that we have too short time. Otherwise, I'd like to have more time with you and to listen to you in such an atmosphere and a school which is a house of intellects in the world.
Nếu các bạn thấy là còn cần thiết thì tôi xin hứa lần sau sang sẽ bố trí chương trình dài hơn để được hầu chuyện các bạn.
And if you still feel the need to, then I promise that next time I would spend more time with you to discuss with you.
The Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy.